We just finished the other live feed, and we're back. We're on to a better one. So here's what we've been looking at or waiting for like 2 years or better. This is the HPI Venture. So this is the new release. Finally is coming out from HPI. We saw the release info on this thing forever ago. It just way back, but it's finally here. So I'll do a full disassembly on this thing. I always like to actually disassemble these things and see what's all inside and all that kind of thing. But I'm out of time. That kit build took me so much longer than it should have. It was a frustrating kit build, not this one. This has been frustration free so far because it came out of the box quite nicely. But beyond that, that's about the amount of experience that I've had with this thing because that kit took so much longer. So, at least it's not a Jeep. It is not a Jeep. I actually like Jeeps. I actually prefer Jeeps. Toyota FJ Cruisers, not my favorite body in the world, but it's not a Jeep, and a lot of people like Toyotas. So, so this stream looks clear now. So good. I was having problems with the quality on the stream of the Facebook before. No, don't know why, but anyway. So let's look at the body really quick, and then we can get past this thing. It's a Lexan body, right? This one is like the desert tan kind of color. I actually like that color. It's probably if I had any choice of this. It's got a hard plastic molded roof rack, simple and clean. Looks proper, looks scale, whatnot. It's got hard plastic side mirrors. I mean, like hard plastic, very rigid. There is no give to them. They bolt on through the inside. And then the only other feature to the body is the rear has this hook. You can kind of see. And what that hook is for is the rear tire carrier. This rear tire carrier swivels up and back. And there's a finger on the center of this of that tire carrier, and that locks into that hook on the back or loop on the back of that body. Once it's all on there, with the 2 body posts in the front, 2 on the top, and then that one in the back, that body gets nice and rigid. So it actually feels good. So let's show you what's going on here. I will try and answer as many questions as I can while we go through here. I'll try and stay up on the comments. I'm going to do this thing for like 30 minutes is my hope. I've got packing to do before an event tomorrow, and I'd like to take this thing to there, and I'd like to be able to get everything I need together to take it there. I would like to, show everyone what it is, all that type of stuff. So, yeah, anyway. Yes, the body. This body is very light. It is not anything like the weight of a Traxxas body. It's a very lightweight body. It's not going to add a bunch of up-high weight. So, underneath, let's talk about some of the cosmetic things first. Tires and wheels. The tires are an unlicensed, generic, not very scale tire. They put a tire on it. You're going to change them. I would change them. We'll see how they perform, but just by the looks, if you want a scale tire, these are not going to be your scale tire. The wheels for glue-on plastic wheels look pretty good. Not bad. They do have a screw-on center cap. We've seen those before. These look pretty good. So the front bumper doesn't stick out a long ways from the body or anything like that. Once you put it on there, the body, it stays pretty tight, and it's not too wide either. So you can see it's fairly tight to the body, and then as far as width goes, it's pretty close to full width, but it doesn't come out around the fender flares or anything like that. So it's not going to be like a huge performance hindrance. The Vitera Blazer body, if you remember the bumper that comes on that thing, it's super wide, gets in the way of everything. You got to come in at an angle and turn up, try and climb. Same with the SCX 10.2 Jeep Cherokee bumper. That thing is super wide, gets in the way all the time. This one's probably not nearly as bad. The battery is in the back. Not great. We all try and move the batteries forward, mid-mounted at least, something. It's in the back. It's where it is. Find a way to move it up. Run it on the side panel, rockers, do whatever. You know, if I was immediately just trying to look at something, I'd get rid of the electronics box and stuff up here, move it out of the way, and move the battery kind of more. It would fit quite a ways up forward at that point. And you could keep it pretty low. So the transmission, another forward mounted transmission. This one is nice and compact and small, fits up there, and then it's got a long jack shaft that goes from the front to the transfer case, and it's got a very small transfer case. It's a 3-gear transfer case, but it's super tiny. When I get into the actual teardown, I'll tear down this whole thing. I'll show you the gears, what they're inside, what they look like, the whole deal. Right now, I'll just show this. Right now, that transfer shaft is a dog bone shaft, but it's not a big deal. It's staying straight. It's not moving around. It should be fine. There is a slipper clutch adjustment on the bottom output of the front-mounted transmission. So that's, that works. It's a new spot. I believe that this transmission set, or at least the gear set, is borrowed from one of the Savage, maybe one of the 16th scale Savage or something like that. Not 100% sure on that, but I think something like that is the case. So I do believe that there's already metal gears that you can get for the transmission pretty inexpensively. It's a chassis mounted servo. Chassis mounted servo is on the passenger side if you're in the US. So, it's running the opposite way. Normally we see gearboxes on the driver's side and they'd run downhill. This one's opposite to that. So you've got a passenger side mounted servo. Sorry, it's getting late. I'm getting slow. And then the Panhard then obviously runs the same way. Now, what you will see, or what you won't see, I'll show you on Facebook Live here in a second, is you won't see a tie rod between the two knuckles, and that's because it actually runs on the back side of the axle. Behind the axle steering is what that was always referred to as. So again, you can see the lack of a tie rod in the front, but it's because it's running in the back, and it is running over top of the lower links, so it's nice and tucked away, not going to get in the way. It is a steel link that ties the two sides together. Got a couple pretty drastic bends in it, but it is a steel link. So there's that. Now, while that link is steel, that tie rod, the upper link in the front is aluminum, and then the rest of the links on this car are plastic. Fairly soft plastic. Nothing crazy impressive there. Link kit should be easy enough to do. I do believe it comes with what is needed to do a 4-link in the rear, in the box. The box is in the other room, but I do believe it comes with what it needs to take a 4-link. The front I'm going to have to check on because it is like I said, it's an aluminum upper link. It doesn't run a rod end in the front. It runs like a typical axial 3-link, where it went in and it screwed through. It's got that setup. It just screws right into the link. It's going to be really hard to show it on video. It's it's going to be next to impossible to show you what I'm talking about in this. I'm going to have to get a close-up picture of it when I'm filming, intently, and then I'll try and show that in an edited video form. Or when we're doing the full teardown, I'll be able to show you a little bit better. So yeah, a link set for this thing should be easy enough for us to knock out, to get you an inexpensive set of stainless links for it. How are the drive shafts versus wild boars? The drive shafts look good. I'll show you a close-up of them. They've got metal ends. You can see there. Metal drive shaft ends on each end. CV style, like a wild boar. The one thing that we noticed is that there's almost no gap between the male and female ends of the drive shafts. So as you compress the suspension, right at full compression, those drive shafts are fully compressed as well. I mean, there's like no wiggle room. It seems like they should have added maybe like a little bit of wiggle room to make sure it didn't bind, especially with those plastic lower links like moving constantly. It seems like that drive shaft's going to be constantly bottoming out and stopping maybe those links from. Seems like you could be adding stresses in places where maybe it shouldn't be. It's got out of the box. It's got a nice low ride height. That's something nice to see. The shocks on this thing are some of the nicest shocks that I've seen out of a ready to run. They're an aluminum body. They're a nice, good size bore. They've got nice caps. Trying to show it properly here. You can see there. But they feel good. They look good. The springs feel like they're a little sloppy on there. Like they're almost a little bit oversized for the spring perches or spring, like the preload spacers at the top, preload collars, whatever you want to call them. They're like a little big for it. They kind of float around. It is a dual stage spring. So you've got the top spring, and then you have the larger lower spring with what appears to be two different spring rates. The bodies are aluminum and threaded, so you do have preload adjustment on there. Out of the box, the front's got a little bit of preload dialed in already. The rear, well, one of my rears has some, my other rear has none. So, not super consistent, but, either way. The transfer case is nice and small. Lots of room in the middle there. Did I get a facelift? I shaved. I do that somewhat regularly though. Let's see. This is just being released now. The body posts the front body posts feel sturdy. Rears feel somewhat floppy. Once it's supported by the body though, there is a significant amount of like cage work for these rear body posts, more than just having like the long field goal setup. It definitely feels more sturdy than the typical. So bonus there. The rear bumper I didn't mention though. The rear bumper is a big one. That's a good sized bumper. It doesn't stick out too far, but it's out there a ways. And of course you do have a full functional fifth wheel back there. So that does add a little bit of weight, but even without a battery, it balances just ahead of where the lower links mount. But once you add a battery, of course, all of that can change, especially with the battery being all the way at the back. You're going to take the advantages of that forward motor and really shift that weight bias backward. And depending on how big of a battery you run will depend on how much that changes. So the sliders are nice and sturdy. We've seen this style of slider before, but this one is sturdy. I like this. The axles are a big part of this, right? The axle size in general is small, like the pumpkin size is nice and small. You can see there. It comes with a metal diff cover that has 6 screws to hold it on. That metal diff cover does also retain the ring gear. I have seen the ring and pinion gear on this, so it actually looks pretty good. I think that it's probably going to hold up fairly well even with power. I assume that everybody's going to run power, like good size power, but that I know not everybody does. Axle size is kind of on par with most of the newer axle ring gear sizes. It's not a high pinion. It's a standard straight cut ring and pinion setup. Like I said, it does have a metal diff cover. It also has metal link and shock mounts. So those are a clamping style that clamp onto the axle housing with 2 pieces, and the links and shocks all mount to that. The links mount to the backside of the axle in single shear I don't love single shear. I like double shear on everything. With how hard I beat on trucks, single shear, especially on links like that, I'm gonna bend link bolts. It's just gonna happen. Fronts are dog bones. It's factory. You have factory dog bones up front, so there's not a CVD or a universal or anything like that. It's sorry about the dark. So it comes with a 35 turn crawler spec motor, they say. It's a sealed end bell brushed motor. It comes with a very tiny 3S capable ESC that's got drag brake adjustable by pins. You just kind of move it around. And then it's got something to, it's got a little deal to change from LiPo to nickel metal hydride. This does come with a battery and a charger. However, it comes with a nickel metal battery and a charger for nickel metal. That doesn't do anything for me, but if you want something that's ready to go out of the box, it comes with a battery, a charger, batteries for your remote. And it comes with everything. It's a 2.4 radio system. So this one, in comparison, you can buy this at the hobby shop for $369 maybe, and take it home, charge your stuff, put the batteries in the controller, and actually go run it. You don't have to have your own batteries, you don't have to have your own charger, anything like that. So yeah, $369 I do believe is what it's selling for. It also comes with a Tamiya plug. Still has Tamiya plugs. I dislike Tamiya plugs. I don't even, you know, it is, what time is it? It's 9:30 right now. You know, I want to go run this tomorrow. I don't have a battery that has a Tamiya plug, I promise. So I have to cut that off and solder something on. The ESC is up to 3S LiPo ready with LiPo cutoff. So it has that. It's ready to go. They at least know that people do run LiPo, that this can run LiPo, and is ready to do that safely. Drag brake it also has, and it has that adjustable. It has an 80% drag brake, 100% drag brake, and turning it off. It is fully waterproof, advertised at the box. So you can go drive it underwater for what it says on the box. Whether or not it's got a very tiny little waterproof receiver box, which is kind of nice looking in general. It's a steel C-channel stamped frame rail. Nice to see. The front Panhard is worth mentioning. It is another cast metal piece you can see right there. So see that piece right there that bolts onto the chassis. Panhards take a lot of abuse. If your front axle comes in and takes just a big whack on the side, all that force is pushed into that Panhard, and that's why a lot of times, you know, we saw those plastic Panhard mounts break and snap off. And then at that point, you've got to upgrade to something, and when it's one piece, you end up replacing the whole shock tower. This is a metal Panhard mount. Bonus there. Nice to see. This chassis, I will say, looks wider than like an SCX-10 chassis in the front. Maybe in the middle, maybe not. In the front, it definitely looks wider, though. I don't know why that's important or not. Overall width, I think, is probably pretty similar. Steering angle is dog bone, you know. That's not overly impressive, but it's not terrible. It's whatever. It's dog bones. It does have metal steering. Let's see. Can you see the? So you see that metal plate. It's not a metal steering knuckle. It's a metal plate that screws to the top of the knuckle. You can see it right in there. It screws to the top of the knuckle, so it gives you a metal steering arm. So, you know, if you've broken knuckles, mainly when you break a knuckle, most of the time you end up breaking the steering arm off. You shouldn't have that problem with this one. You know, you'll actually have to break the eyelet around the top or bottom. If you want to know about flex, it gets somewhere in the range of a tire's worth, which, if you're not new to crawling, you'll know is enough. So let's see. This is a simple car. It's a very simple car. After the last couple nights that I've had, I'm happy to see that it's a simple car. Almost anything in here looks like you could get to it and fix, replace, adjust anything in this car in no time. I think that you could take this thing and turn it into whatever you wanted fairly easily. I think that it needs a good set of links right away, because it's got plastic links, and plastic links I don't. They do it for cost. There's no other reason to do it. They are flexy and floppy, and they kill performance. So they saved money there. You'll need to spend some money and replace those. This or a TRX4. Got the TRX4. I don't know. TRX4 is a lot more money than this, and I don't know. They're very different cars. These are drastically different cars. This is a very simple, straightforward car. So, it doesn't have 3 servos or a bunch of crazy cable linkages four servos I meant. It has 1 servo. It's got a motor up front. I think portals are cool. I don't think portals are always cool. I think portals are cool in the right situation. Sorry, my stupid scroll in the comments in the Facebook side isn't working. This is a very simple car. This or a Red Cat Gen 7. There's another good question. So the Red Cat Gen 7 is I think you can get that car for like a little over $200. So it's a very inexpensive car versus this one that's, right in the mid-range. But the Gen 7 is like old school tech. It's basically like an old SCX-10 with a flat frame rail chassis. So the Gen 7 is just like bottom of the budget car to me. So personally, if I had the choice between the two, I would pick this. Yeah, it's $269 for the Pro, but the Pro means like a bunch of weird scale accessory stuff. And I think it's got some different gears, metal gears, maybe in a couple of places, or metal lockers or something. I would, this thing's got more small scale axles, front motor, a bunch of those things. I think the Gen 7 is just, it's an inexpensive option to put out there, which I think is a good idea. They put an inexpensive option out there to get people something to be able to buy. A kid or a backup rig for somebody, whatever it is, it's something simple. This is a more up-to-date car, even though that this car is 2 years. If this car would have been out even a year ago, even better. Now, there's a bunch of players in the game, This car was announced before the SCX-10-2, long before the SCX-10-2. A funny story. Let's see, we're 25 minutes in. I was going to try and do this like 30 minutes. Funny story though before I end this thing. So, the Venture was first getting released. I lived in Kansas City at the time still, and it turned into a deal. They weren't saying HPI. They were just saying there was just this Venture thing. They were doing like this weird sneak marketing thing. But nobody bought VentureRC.com. So there was just this weird, nobody could tell what was going on. You could tell it was a new RC car, but it was just, so VentureRC.com wasn't so I bought the domain name VentureRC. And I took it and I set up the forwarding to Traxxas's website. And this was before Traxxas was ever rumored to be in the scale market. So I set it to forward it to Traxxas. And then they, everyone thought that Traxxas was coming out with a scale car. And it was a big, funny joke. And it cost me $7 to find the domain name. And then, it was announced later that it probably was HPI. But anyway, it turned into just big. I still own VentureRC.com. I think it goes to my YouTube account. But I'd have to look. So anyway, kind of funny. It was a very funny day on the internet. Everyone was freaking out about something that I was just making a joke about. So you've got to have fun on the internet some days. So let's see. What else do we got? We got a little bit of time left. I'll still do a handful of questions. But we'll keep going here. So, I really wish this car would have been released at least a year ago. It should have been released 2 years ago. And, HPI had all of their issues with getting sold and then getting possibly sold, but that didn't go through. And then they got sold to somebody else and they had to retool it and all of that. Just what a cluster. This or a G-made GOM. Or no, beats the GOM. Yes, it does beat the GOM. GOM is over there on the floor. I don't want to touch it. Yes, I did finish it. I just finished another couple hours of stream on it. This or an SCX-102. This is less expensive. It doesn't have a battery up front. It doesn't have the aftermarket support. Hopefully it gains some aftermarket support. I don't know yet. We'll see. It's got frame rail. It's got steel rail chassis. It's got a transfer case. I don't know. The SCX-102 has some sweet, high-point style gears, which are cool. Is it Vanquish parts worthy? I don't know yet. We'll see. It does have a front-mounted motor. God, that's a huge. It's got a front-mounted motor. That's a cool feature, but it doesn't have a front-mounted battery. It says chassis mount servo. It doesn't even have to have a front-mounted battery. Front-mounted battery is not the end of the world, though. It just needs to be forward. I wish that Axia would have built a front-mounted motor and a forward battery. Not necessarily, doesn't have to be right over the front, just forward. HPI or Traxxas, that one I kind of talked about. I don't know. Traxxas is expensive and a lot of stuff on it, a lot of gimmicky stuff. I don't like the diff lockers and I don't like 2-speeds. I am not a 2-speed fan. I think 2-speeds are worthless. Get a good brushless system in their car and forget about 2-speeds with mechanical linkage, things to fail. I hate 2-speeds. They're not needed. So, and diff lockers and all that, I don't like them either. I feel like you're paying that's my biggest problem with the Traxxas. I feel like you're paying a lot for these other things that I don't like. I get that some people do, though. So, I understand why people want them. It's just not for me. Yes, I am being a little GOM bitter. You're correct. The G-made GOM has poisoned me tonight. But this is just a solid, simple car. So, the front-mounted motor with the option that it already has some metal gear support that you can drop in there pretty inexpensively probably is going to make this drivetrain hold up pretty well. What's the wheelbase? I think it's like the same as everything else. I don't have a tape measure in here right now, sorry. Let's see. As far as the body goes, it's not a Jeep. People are going to like that for their own reasons. I like the color too, as far as the FJ goes. I'm not an FJ Cruiser fan, personally. I love old FJs, don't love new FJs. Vitera or HPI? Another good question. I have a big problem with the Vitera, and that's the gears and the axles. I think that Vetera had such a solid car. That Ascender was such a good car, and then they screwed up with the axles, and it kills that car for me. That the gearing in the Vetera axles is the worst. I can't believe that they put out a car with that gear ratio, and the gear design with the pinion, how it goes on. It just, with the square drive in it, it just makes for a weak point. It kills that car for me. That gearing, the gear ratio is awful. This one's over 3-1. The gear ratio on the Vetera is under 2-1. It's like 1.8 to 1 or something like that. It's awful. So, trying to scare me. But yeah, that's, we're right at that 30 minutes. We're 30 minutes and 31 minutes now. So, that is what I committed to. I'm looking forward to this car. I'm going to try and do some running with it this weekend, I hope. Take it up to Crawl for the Cure. Have some fun. Yeah. Thanks for watching. I will do a live teardown on this still, and I'm planning on doing the edited videos on this. Yes, I am looking forward to taking out my DJI Mavic tomorrow. It's my new fun toy. I like the TF2. The TF2 is cool in its own way. I don't think it's the all-around type rig that something like this is with a Lexan body. You're looking at a leaf-sprung truck. I hate leaf springs, but so anyway, oh man, say watch it doesn't release. I sure hope that this thing releases. So yeah, that's it for this thing tonight. I'm tired. It's whatever time. I don't know what the hell time it is here. What time is it? Of course my phone is 9:45. So that's it. I'll see you guys maybe Sunday. I'll tear this thing down if I'm feeling like it. Otherwise, it's going to be next week. So watch for that. Live stuff, videos, whatever. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next one. It's been a long night. Losing my voice. So take it easy.